Elden Ring is a soul-like RPG developed by From Software and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment. The game is a collaboration between director Hidetaka Miyazaki and renowned fantasy author George R.R. Martin, best known for A Song of Ice and Fire. The game makes extensive use of medieval, Gothic, and Renaissance costumes, and cleverly used visual elements to create different characters. Elden Ring takes place in the lands between, a region once ruled by Queen Marika the Eternal. However, after her firstborn son was assassinated, in great pain, Marika shattered the Elden Ring, the divine lord of the lands between. The fragments of the ring, known as the Great Ruins, were scattered across the land. Following this, Queen Marika disappeared, and her demigod descendants claimed the Great Ruins for themselves, but the power of the fragments drove them to madness, sparkling the Shattering War, a conflict that left no ruler victorious, and led to the abandonment of the lands between by the Great Whale. As the player, you take on the role of the Tarnished, an outcast called back to the land between. Your goal is to gather the Great Ruins, restore the Elden Ring, and become the Elden Lord. For this analysis, I will focus on the costume of some key characters. To give a bit context about the relationship in the story, I've included a small section of the relationship map here, since the lore is quite intricate. To put it simply, the goddess Marika first married the first Elden Lord, Godfrey, and then had several children, including Godwyn the Golden, as well as Mohg, the Lord of Blood, and Morgott, the Omen King, both of whom are cursed with horns all over their bodies. Later, the goddess general, Radagon of the Golden Order, married Ranala, the Queen of the Full Moon, and leaders of the Western Magical Academy. Later, together, they had children, among whom Radahn and Ranni are particularly important to the story. As for why I'm using fan art here, is to help you see the sibling connection between them. Otherwise, in a game, well, they look like this, yet it's a bit abstract. However, for reasons unknown, Marika exiled her husband Godfrey. According to the Golden Order, she now needed a new counselor to rule alongside her, so she summoned Radagon back to the capital to take his place as her partner. Here's where it gets interesting. Radagon and Marika are actually the same being, two halves of one god, split into male and female aspect with entirely different personalities. These two gods later had children, namely Miquella and Malenia. Let's talk about Queen Marika. She is characterized by her long golden hair, golden bracelets on her hands, and a black dress adorned with golden leaves, a clear symbol of the Eld tree. Even her crown and the swirling patterns on her chest edging are heavily inspired by Eld tree motifs. These swirling designs are common among characters aligned with the Eld tree. Most of them represent its intricate branches and roots, while some emphasize the tree's main trunk. When it comes to Queen Marika's pose, it initially reminded me of the image of crucifixion of Jesus. This pose perfectly reflected her identity as the sinner who shattered the Elden Ring. But more importantly, both her posture and the way her dress is arranged in the image subtly echo the shape of the Elden Ring itself, emphasizing her deep connection to it in a clever and symbolic way. Radagon, with his long red braids, is a unique figure in Elden Ring. Aside from his portrait in the Round Table Hall, where we can see him wearing clothes, he is depicted shirtless throughout the game. Even his statue follows this design. So why is he shirtless? To answer this, let's look at another warrior in the game, Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. In his fight, his first phrase shows him in his original form, but in the second phrase, he strips down, discards his weapon, and transforms into a fierce boxer. What's striking is the vivid red on his body. At first glance, you might think it's just blood from the battle, but none of the other bosses leave behind blood effect like this, only Godfrey. Now take Radon, another warrior in the game. His cloak, his steed, and even the color palette of his environment all revolves around the color red. It's clear that the developers intentionally connected red with the image of warrior in Elden Ring. But how does this relate to being shirtless? I believe Radagon's bare chest referenced the concept of heroic nudity in ancient Greek art. Back then, nudity was used to symbolize strength, bravery, and an idealized human form. Radagon's design isn't just about making him look powerful, it's also elevate him into a divine, almost mythical status. Why did the ancient Greeks use nudity to represent heroes? It ties back to their cultural values. To them, the perfect human body symbolized divine beauty and excellence. By portraying heroes and gods nude, they could make them appear closer to the image of divinity. Another character I like to talk about is Millennia. She wears a gold and silver dress with a vent design, which allows for greater mobility, revealing an underlayer resembling chainmail. Her right arm and shoulder are covered in armor. The armor are adorned with intricate, swirling patterns that symbolized the Eld tree. A fitting detail, considering she's the descendant of Marika and Radagon. She also wears a red cloak embroidered with gold. The design on the cloak is a detailed Eld tree with complex branches and roots, all enclosed in a circular border. The edges of the cloak have fur design, hinting at her loyal line edge. Her helmet covers her entire head, and the front has a pair of wing-like decorations. Her long hair falls from behind the helmet, its reddish-brown color matching the cloak. Visually, it's clear that Millennia's design is inspired by Valkyrie, a figure from Wagner's opera Der Hin des Liebenden, specifically from the second part, Die Weihkuchen. It's also worth noting that her right arm is actually longer than her left, and paired with her long sword, it allows her to strike enemies more easily. This design really emphasized her Valkyrie-like identity. Another thing I want to point out is Millennia only has one arm and one leg. The combination of the Valkyrie and the missing limbs reminds me of winged victory of Samothrace in the Louvre. In Millennia's second phase of battle, she unfolds her wings to fight you, which is very similar to the wings behind the victory statue. So, I believe her design draws inspirations from the winged victory. The reason why I think this is just an appearance reference is because Millennia's figure in the game is not victory, but corruption. She was born with Scarlet Rot, an ancient power. The owner's ability will be improved, but her body will gradually become corrupt. Therefore, there are traces of corruption on her eyes and body in the winged form. Ranala, the full moon queen, wears a deep blue robe made of what appears to be luxurious velvet. The hem and cuffs of her robe are adorned with intricate gold embroidery, featuring complex geometry and botanical patterns, emphasizing her noble status. These designs also symbolized her connection to Radagon through their marriage. The hem of the robe features symmetrical, semicircular patterns on either side, which, when combined, form a full circle, a perfect nod to her title as the Full Moon Queen. The robe's heavy and elaborate design suggests limited mobility, hinting that she is designed to excel in long-range attack, fitting her persona as a scholar and sorceress. Draping over the front are two white-red hanging strips that create contrast with the deep blue of her robe. The strips are embroidered with symmetrical gold patterns, resembling the elements of Raya Lucaria Academy, further emphasizing her academic background. Her headpiece is a standout feature, a crescent-shaped golden head Crazed with geometric designs that showcase the unique metallic texture of the royal family, the headpiece incorporated a crown-like design, perfectly aligning with her role as a queen and her status as a consort, highlighting her majesty and grace. The red strips, resembling a bishop's omophorion in the queen's costume, along with the gold embroidery, reflect a Byzantine-style influence, while the crescent moon head shares similarities with the Gothic-era Hanon.